Imagine being deported from the USA to a country where you have no protection, no support, and no hope. That's exactly what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran national who had been legally living in Maryland. His deportation was a mistake, and it's not just a mistake that's causing outrage, it's how the USA government has responded to it. Now, Senator Chris Van Hollen is accusing the Trump administration of lying about the situation and handling it with complete disregard for the law. This incident began in March 2025 when Garcia, a Salvadoran man living legally in the USA, was mistakenly deported by the Trump administration despite having protections against deportation due to threats from gangs in El Salvador. What followed was a disastrous chain of events that left Garcia facing terrifying conditions in one of El Salvador's most dangerous prisons. The Trump administration later admitted this deportation was a tragic error, but for Garcia, the damage was already done. Senator Van Hollen has not just raised his voice in anger, he's taken action. After the deportation, he flew to El Salvador to meet with Garcia and understand the full extent of this error. His journey has now become a critical point in the battle to protect the rights of immigrants and to hold the USA government accountable for its actions. This case has escalated beyond a simple mistake, it's now a political and legal crisis, demanding answers from the administration. But what's at stake here is more than just Garcia's life. This case raises questions about how the USA government handles its immigration system, how laws are ignored, and whether the Trump administration can truly justify its treatment of immigrants. As Senator Van Hollen continues his fight for Garcia's release, this case will have lasting effects on immigration policy for years to come. When it was revealed that Kilmar Abrego Garcia had been wrongfully deported, the Trump administration initially denied responsibility. They called it a mistake, a routine error, but as we now know, this wasn't just a bureaucratic mishap. This was a failure of a larger system, one that has repeatedly targeted immigrants and failed to protect those with legal rights. Van Hollen didn't just stop at calling it a mistake. He accused the Trump administration of outright lying about the events. According to the senator, it wasn't just an administrative error, it was a deliberate failure to respect court orders and the legal protections Garcia had under USA law. Despite multiple court rulings, Garcia was still deported to a dangerous situation, directly contradicting the promises of protection made to him. In his remarks, Van Hollen pointed out that the administration's lack of accountability and disregard for judicial decisions had led to a serious violation of Garcia's rights. Garcia was deported despite court orders and clear evidence that he was in danger in El Salvador, a country known for its brutal gang violence. The Trump administration's inability to act on these protections was not just a technical error, it was a systemic issue that left vulnerable individuals like Garcia exposed. The consequences of this scandal go beyond the immediate harm done to Garcia. Politically, it has raised serious questions about the Trump administration's immigration policies, its treatment of immigrants and legal residents, and the growing disregard for human rights. Federal judges are now calling for action, warning that the administration could face contempt charges for failing to comply with orders meant to bring Garcia back to the USA. Van Hollen has made it clear that accountability is key. The senator has called for a full investigation into the administration's actions and a transparent review of the mistakes made in this case. It's not just demanding answers for Garcia, but for the thousands of other individuals affected by immigration policies that put them in harm's way. According to Van Hollen, the government must be held accountable for its mistakes, and people's basic rights must be protected. The controversy surrounding Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wrongful deportation has sparked serious legal consequences, not just for Garcia, but for the entire system handling immigration and legal protections. In the aftermath of his deportation, federal judges have issued a series of warnings, with some threatening contempt charges against the Trump administration for ignoring court orders. Garcia's case exemplifies a broader pattern of disregard for the rule of law and due process that has plagued immigration policies under the previous administration. Federal courts have not been silent in the wake of the wrongful deportation. In fact, several judges have issued strong reprimands, questioning the Trump administration's decision to move Garcia despite legal protections that should have kept him in the USA. The courts have made it clear that their orders to return Garcia to the USA were not merely suggestions, they were mandatory. Yet, the government's failure to comply with those orders not only undermines the authority of the courts but also sends a dangerous message about the treatment of individuals with legal standing in this country. Politically, the fallout from Garcia's wrongful deportation goes beyond the courtroom. Across the country, protests have erupted, with immigrant rights groups demanding answers. The public outrage has intensified calls for an overhaul of the USA immigration system, particularly the way deportation policies are carried out. And as Senator Van Hollen continues to speak out, the issue is shifting from a legal battle to a full-fledged political crisis, one that raises serious questions about the accountability of the administration and its treatment of immigrants. In the heart of this political storm, Van Hollen has positioned himself as one of the most vocal critics of the administration's handling of this case. His actions are not just about securing Garcia's release but also about fighting for a justice system that upholds the rights of every individual, regardless of their immigration status. By traveling to El Salvador and engaging in direct dialogue with Garcia, Van Hollen has put a human face on the issue, showing that this case is not an isolated incident, but part of a much larger conversation about immigrant rights and accountability. This case is now reverberating far beyond the confines of the courtroom. With public outrage, political pressure, and international scrutiny, the Trump administration's legacy on immigration is facing its most critical test. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are calling for reform and greater transparency in how deportations are handled. For Garcia and many others, the lessons learned from this crisis will be felt for years to come. The case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is about more than just one person's wrongful deportation. It has become a symbol of the failures within the immigration system and a reflection of the harm caused by administrative negligence. As Senator Van Hollen continues to advocate for Garcia's return to the USA, he emphasizes that the fight is about holding the government accountable and ensuring that the rights of immigrants and legal residents are protected under the law. Even as Garcia is transferred to a safer facility in Santa Ana, the fight continues. Van Hollen's advocacy highlights that this case is not just about one person's journey, but about the need for structural reform in the way the USA handles deportations and immigration enforcement. With courts now taking action and more lawmakers supporting the cause, the case is creating momentum for broader policy changes. The political and legal ramifications of this case are far-reaching. As more lawmakers from both parties speak out in support of immigrant rights, the pressure to reform immigration policies intensifies. Senator Van Hollen's actions are now serving as a catalyst for the broader legal battles that may eventually lead to a shift in how the USA deals with its most vulnerable residents. This case raises fundamental questions about the role of government, the protection of rights, and how we treat individuals who are legally within our borders. As Garcia's case continues to unfold, the lessons learned from his wrongful deportation will resonate for years to come. Van Hollen and others leading the charge for change will continue to fight for justice, not just for Garcia, but for the many others affected by immigration policies that fail to protect those who need it most. The story of Kilmar Abrego Garcia will undoubtedly remain a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate about human rights, immigration reform, and the role of government in ensuring that justice is served. This case has ignited a fire for change. It's about more than just one individual, it's about standing up for what is right, making sure every voice is heard, and ensuring justice for all. This is just the beginning of the fight for a more just and humane immigration system, one that values human rights above all.